Ramanallah Lakhanwal, Afghan refugee, CIA partner force veteran, 0 unit operator. And according to federal charges, the guy who drove across the entire United States walked up on a National Guard patrol a few blocks from the White House, ambushed 2 American service members with a revolver. One of them, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, has now died. The other Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf is fighting for his life. This wasn't some random homeless dude who just snapped one day. This was one of ours, trained, armed, and used by the CIA in Afghanistan, and then flown here under our own government's blessings. Tonight, we're going to break this down like an after-action review. Who is this guy? What 0 units really are, and how you go from CIA night raid operator to shooting U.S. troops on K Street, and whether this was straight up terrorism, PTSD, or something darker, maybe even some would call activation. And I'm not here to simp for Biden. I'm not here to simp for Trump. I'm here for the root cause analysis and risk-based threat assessment. If that hurts your team jersey, that's your problem. Roll on. So let's first start talking about the ambush in D.C., okay? On November 27, 2025, midday, 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard were on a high visibility patrol near Farragut West Metro. That's walking distance from the White House. The alleged shooter, this guy, 29-year-old Ramallah Lakhanwal, walks up armed with a revolver. I'll put the footage here you can see. That's him there. According to the early law enforcement leaks, okay, he ambushes him. The female soldier Specialist Sarah Beckstrom is shot in the head and the chest. The male airman, Andrew Wolf, takes multiple rounds to the torso, okay. Reports say that he yelled, Allah Akbar, okay. Now this is the airman and the specialist here. As he opened fire, he yelled Allah Akbar. And he goes to try to reload. Now, this is where the story flips, okay? Because a National Guard major who has been doing spot checks and was unarmed takes cover, then closes the distance, pulls a pocket knife, and starts stabbing Lakhanwal in the head while another guardsman draws his sidearm and puts rounds into him mid-reload, okay? That major did what a lot of people talk about in the comment sections. No plate carrier, no rifle, just violence of action and a little pocket steel. That's why I always say to carry around some pocket steel. That's why I sell a lot of it. Because at push comes to shove, man, cold steel, it doesn't fail you, you know. Anyway, Lakhanwal survives. He's now facing first-degree murder and federal charges.
And my remarks the same way, with prayer for our fallen soldiers, prayer for our law enforcement community, prayer for our National Guardsmen and women, prayer for our brave prosecutors at the Department of Justice and the offices of the D.C. United States Attorney. We must come together as a nation, especially on this Thanksgiving Day, and remember the sacrifices that so many are making around the world and around this country to secure our freedoms under President Trump's brilliant leadership and administration. I'll provide an update on the case as follows. It is an ongoing investigation of terrorism. Make no mistake about it. The FBI is leading out on these federal assault on a federal law enforcement officer investigation on many fronts. We immediately, with our law enforcement partners in the Metropolitan Police Department and the interagency, secured the scene, seized the weapon, sent in our evidence response team immediately to collect evidence and started doing block by block canvasses. We are looking for and interviewing witnesses. The firearm and other materials have been sent to our Quantico laboratory already yesterday for immediate analysis. That work is ongoing. Partnering with the D.C. United States Attorney's Office, we have also executed multiple search warrants around the country to include the subject's last known residence, which is in the state of Washington. The search warrant was executed on that house last night or early this morning, and it is an ongoing process. All the individuals found in the house have been interviewed, and some interviews remain ongoing. We will not stop until we interview anyone and everyone associated with the subject, the house, and every piece of his life. There's also subject interviews relations conducted in San Diego pursuant to our ongoing investigation. So, as the judge noted, this is a coast-to-coast investigation being led right here in Washington, D.C., and this subject definitely did pick the wrong country. And we will rise together as a nation to show the world what we do here. And we are thankful that we have the Attorney General's brave leadership and President Trump's brave leadership and priorities to safeguard our communities. I also spoke to Director of the CIA, John Ratcliffe, last night, and Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America. That is what a broad-based international terrorism investigation looks like. We will provide continuous details to the American public while at the same time not jeopardizing the ongoing prosecution to ultimately hold this perpetrator accountable in our courts of law. We will provide as much transparency as possible, but as you can see, the breadth and scope of this investigation will continue. We will continue to hit the streets and hit every town and every house.
So what we got is an Afghan refugee cross-country drive from Washington State to D.C., ambush U.S. troops, a religious war cry, revolver, close-range shots, reload, attempted follow-up. This is not a random gun violence. It smells like an operation, even if it ended sloppy, okay? Now, let's get into this guy. Here's his Afghan ID, okay? According to tons of outlets and senior intel officers, here's the profile. Born 1996 in Khost Province, Afghanistan. Starts working with U.S.-backed forces as a teenager around 15 or 16 years old. Joins the CIA-backed Zero unit in Kandahar, okay? Specifically tied to Kandahar Strike Force NDS TAC-03. Within that unit, he allegedly moves from security guard to team leader and GPS specialist on night raids. He fights alongside U.S. Special Forces and CIA on direct action missions against the Taliban and al-Qaeda. Friends would go on to say that he later struggled from what he had seen, bodies, blood, the whole 9 yards, and started spiraling. Started smoking weed, bad decisions, quick second marriage and divorce. They described mental health problems, pressure, and guilt. Now, when the U.S. bails out in Afghanistan in August 2021 and Kabul collapses, he and his family are put on the good Afghan list, okay? September 8, 2021, he arrives in the U.S. under Operation Allies Welcome, Biden's emergency airlift and resettlement program for Afghans who work with us. He resettled in Washington State with his wife and 5 kids. Lives a quiet life, low profile, basic job, apartment, neighbors, and says he's polite but reserved. I think he has a rent paying about $2,000 a month, they say. April 2025, under the Trump administration, he's granted asylum. That's the legal green light saying you're staying. Fast forward to Thanksgiving week. The same guy drives roughly 2,600 miles from Washington State to Washington, D.C. with a revolver and allegedly ambushes the very uniform he once partnered with, okay? That is not a glitch in the system. That is the system blowback from 20 years of a proxy war. Okay, so let's go into Donald. I'm going to play Donald Trump talking about this. He's asked about it. He kind of lights up the reporter because, you know, she asked him about the silence, says, you're stupid or whatever. He says the guy goes cuckoo.
Worked very closely with the CIA in Afghanistan for years, that he was vetted, and the vetting came up clean.
He went cuckoo. I mean, he went nuts. And that happens, too. It happens too often with these people. You see them. But look, this is how they come in. This is how they're standing on top of each other. And that's an airplane. There was no vetting or anything. They came in unvetted. And we have a lot of others in this country. We're going to get them out. But they go cuckoo. Something happens to them.
Your DOJ IG just reported this year that there was thorough vetting by DHS and by the FBI of these Afghans who were brought into the U.S. So why do you blame the Biden administration
because
for what this man did?
Are you stupid? Are
Well,
you a
no.
stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And there's a law passed that it's almost impossible not to get them out. You can't get them out once they come in. And they came in, and they were unvetted, they were unchecked, there were many of them, and they came in on big planes, and it was disgraceful. And if you look, you'll see there was a law passed. It makes it almost impossible not to let them in, not to certify them, so to speak, once they come in. And they came in, and they shouldn't have come in. And frankly, the whole thing was a mess. The whole Afghanistan situation was a mess. It should have never taken place. If we're going to go out and
So let's talk about what zero units actually are. Okay. So first off, the agency doesn't call them zero units. It's kind of like how calling Delta Force, Delta Force, CAG, or whatever their name is this week, Delta. So, but zero units, and I had first seen them, Vice got connected with them on the withdrawal, and they put all those guys on a plane. They put their nods, their gear down, their rifles down, got on a plane. They got those guys out like first. Okay. Now there was some stragglers left behind. I saw some being executed there was like 4 or 5 that were in a village trying to defend off during the withdrawal, the Taliban. They got overtaken by like 300 and they were executed in front of the village. So because they called them traitors. Now, so again, the media calls them zero units. It's like some mystery Marvel villain squad, but let's decode it. Okay. The zero units were CIA-backed Afghan paramilitary forces built around Afghan intelligence services, NDS. Think of designations like NDS 01, 02, 03 in different regions. One of the most infamous was the Kandahar Strike Force, the unit linked to Lakenwall here. Okay. That's the one he was in. These guys were handpicked from commandos, okay, commando units, trained and equipped by the CIA and JSOC, often work with small special operations teams under programs like Omega. They were used for night raids, high-value target hits, and counter-terror missions that the regular Afghan army could not or would not touch. And in theory, they were some of the most trusted Afghan forces we had. The other thing is that their rules of engagement came straight from Langley. Okay. In practice, they developed a reputation for being ruthless as hell. Human rights groups, they documented raids where CIA-backed strike forces killed civilians in night raids, disappeared detainees, hit medical clinics accused of treating Taliban. They were described by villagers as death squads. Now, on the training side, this is what a zero unit operator would likely have under his belt. Weapons and marksmanship. Okay, carbine, AK platforms, PKM, RPGs, pistols, live fire under NVG, stress shoots, room clearing with live rounds, CQB, urban assault, stack drills, dynamic entry, breaching, mechanical and explosive, hallway movement, stairwells, vehicle takedowns, night operations, NGV work, IR lasers, white light discipline, coordinating with US ISR overhead, drones, helos, fixed wing. Okay. Targeting and GPS, we're looking at basic mapping, handheld GPS, grid reference, guiding aircraft or U.S. teams onto compounds, which fits the reporting because Lakenwall was a GPS specialist. Comms and intel, working with interpreters, acting as interpreters, passing target packets, biometrics, face recognition, informant networks, mobility, helo, infill, exfil, mounted ops, and heluxes or MRAPs, foot movement over rough terrain, and brutality tolerance. I hate to say it, but this is real. Repeated exposure to close range killing, torture by local standards, and zero accountability creates a different kind of human being, if you come what I'm saying. Now, some of these guys were absolute warriors and saved American lives, but plenty were tribal fighters with deep grudges who suddenly had access to U.S. intel, money, and gear. And here's the piece I want you to hear straight from me. I got friends who worked around these units, agency guys, SOF guys. They told me flat out a lot of these dudes were not trusted. On hits, some would suddenly slow roll, refuse to press the assault, or just sit down under fire. Others, you felt like they may turn on you if the local politics shifted. So when you hear zero unit, don't think Delta Force with better tan lines. Think a tier 1 level capability bolted onto a completely different culture, loyalty structure, and moral code. And that can create bad business. And then we imported them here into the U.S. Now, let's talk the politics, not sport teams politics, but who signed what. Now, step one, Biden's withdrawal airlift. August 2021, the Afghanistan withdrawal turns into a full-blown debacle. We all know it. Taliban steamrolled the country. In the panic, the administration launches Operation Allies Welcome. Huge flights of Afghans into the U.S., many of them legitimate interpreters and partners, and a lot of others were just on the airfields when the ramp dropped. Later, the DOJ Inspector General comes out and basically says the quiet part out loud. Normal vetting processes were overrun by the urgency to get people out. Databases weren't fully checked, biometrics weren't always complete, and security concerns were waived to move bodies. That's probably how Lakenwald gets on a plane. Now, he was vetted by the CIA multiple times, because he was obviously trusted, had money, firearms, high-tech equipment, and so on. Now, the next failure is the Trump-era asylum. Step two, you fast forward a few years, the Trump admin is now in charge, while Trump is on TV talking about how these flights were full of potential terrorists, which is not wrong. His own DHS and DOJ signed off on the asylum for the exact guy in April 2025, okay? So if you're pure MAGA and you think Trump can't do anything wrong, I got bad news for you. Biden greenlit the mass import with sloppy vetting. That's the root cause, okay? Root cause, and why Trump called this woman stupid, because that is the root cause. He wouldn't have dealt with it if that had not happened. We all know it. We all saw it. We all said it then. But then Trump's team stamped the long-term visa on at least one of these zero-unit dudes. Both teams played a hand in this. There's also National Guard up in the street in D.C. They were not there. Wouldn't happen. So I don't care what political aisle you're on. A little bit of blame for everybody. Now Biden ultimately, because if you look at root cause, they would not be here. Root cause, we can go back to George W. Bush and that whole fiasco. Okay, root cause we should have never employed. They tried to do this shit in Vietnam. You can't, especially when you're dealing with ideological radicals. Okay, extremists in that region of the world. Everybody's an extremist. But meanwhile, what are we assessing over the public debate, right? If you look at the news, and I've said this over and over again, the landscaper named Carlos, the housekeeper named Juanita, the guy hanging drywall in Texas. Now, I'm not saying ignore illegal immigration. What I'm saying is you've got limited man hours. You got limited people. You start with trained foreign commandos, number one, known CIA proxy fighters, people from war zones with combat history and access to networks. We've got Chinese operatives here. We have Syrians. We have a ton of these people that came through the southern border by way of HAIS, if you don't know what that is, and what region of the world and what their whole mission is to destabilize the U.S. And they're our best friends, the chosen allies. They had a hand in this too. Because bottom line, a lot of this is about destabilizing America. There's so many people doing the same exact thing, and everyone's falling for it. That's why I come on here every night trying to scream at the top of my lungs the truth. Because there's so many people playing in the hand. They're using the red and blue, left and right division tactics. Meanwhile, they're all playing the same games. But you cheer on getting Carlos and Juanita removed. We have literal terrorists in this country, terrorist cells. That is not, it's called risk-based analysis. If you throw me into a cage with a tiger and 10 squirrels and tell the guy on the tree stand that has a rifle on the catwalk, I'm not going to tell him, don't worry about the tiger. Make sure the squirrels don't eat all the peanuts. You'd be a moron. Because a tiger might not bite you today, but when it does, everybody's going to act shocked. Lakenwald was the tiger. Now, the biggest key component, and I've been thinking about this over the past 24 hours, is why the revolver. Okay. tactically, this whole thing is weird. Okay. We have a highly trained who's in a decade of war. And what does he bring to hit on U.S. troops? A revolver. This tells me a few things. No brass. Okay. He's not dropping shell casings all over K Street. Every piece of metal stays in the cylinder. If he had gotten away, forensics would have a much harder time. Reliability, revolvers don't care if you're limp wrists, if they're dirty, or if you're shooting them from inside a coat or pocket. One trigger press and you get a shot. Also, not a mass casualty mindset. If you wanted to mow down a crowd, you'd bring up AR-15, at the least a Glock and a backpack full of magazines, right? A revolver is an assassination-style, controlled, close-range, in-and-out weapon. He also drove across the country. That's not a spur-of-the-moment rage. That is time, gas, planning, and commitment. So either he was hell-bent on dying as a martyr and didn't care about escape, or what I believe is he expected the chaos to let him melt away, maybe with help, but the major with the pocket knife was the variable he didn't have in his script. Either way, it is not a guy who just went cuckoo, as Trump said in the clip. It might feel crazy, but there's structure to this. He went low tech for a reason. You can go on the street and pretty much get any type of firearm you want. Trust me, you can. It's not hard. You can get, if you want to do criminal things, it's easy to find those assets, okay? It's easy. It's not hard. He chose a revolver for a reason. I think he thought he was going to be able to get away. And maybe him, maybe other groups of people connected to him plan to do this at a larger scale across the country. Maybe the plan was thwarted after he got taken down by the major with the pocket knife. Now, let's walk through the theories. I'm going to lay them out. You decide where they land, man. Maybe just straight up jihadist terror attack. Evidence that points that way. He yelled Allah Akbar when he opened fire. He targeted uniformed American military in the Capitol. He used a low-tech, low-signature method, classic lone actor jihad playbook. Driving across country shows commitment and willingness to die. If this is the case, it's the classic blowback story. We trained a guy to hunt the Taliban, pumped him full of money and resources, then dumped him into America's suburbia with minimal monitoring. Over time, he either gets radicalized or decides, the country that used him is now the enemy. Number two, could it be just psychological collapse, PTSD time bomb? Some of his buddies say he was deeply affected by the raids, the bodies, the wounded. He reportedly started smoking marijuana, making impulse life decisions like telling friends he was under pressure and he couldn't handle the blood anymore. So this theory says years of high violence, work plus, dislocation to a foreign country, money stress, survivor's guilt, isolation, no serious mental health support. Combine it into a personal meltdown, maybe relationship problems as kids, I don't know. The target being U.S. troops isn't ideological. It's symbolic of his whole life being wrecked, maybe. That doesn't make it any less dangerous. In some ways, it's worse because there are thousands of Afghan fighters like him now scattered across the West. Number three could be something much darker, activation, black program angle, okay? Now, this is where we're in the speculation box. We know 0 units were closely handled by CIA and often worked with JSOC. These programs run under special authorities, heavy classification, historically have been minimal oversight. Again, they get their RE from Langley. Once you build a network of deniable local assets who can operate with a high level of tradecraft, those networks don't just vanish. Pieces of them get absorbed, repurposed, sometimes by people outside formal chains of command. Is there hard evidence this guy was activated as part of some off-book message? No. But if you wanted to send a signal while guardsmen are literally patrolling U.S. streets, create a fear of deployed troops on home soil, and stir a pot right before major political fights. And you could do a lot worse than flipping a former CIA proxy fighter who already knows how to work in the shadows. We've seen stranger things in history. than a deniable asset being nudged into violence by handlers, official or rogue, right? Again, we don't know. We don't know. But it should be on the table for discussion, not dismissed as tinfoil, okay? So what is the takeaway here? Number one, this is what's called proxy war consequences. You can't spend 20 years training foreign militias, giving them CQB skills, urban assault experience, and a taste of night raids and extrajudicial hits, and then act shocked when years later one of them walks down K Street and does what you train him to do. Number two, our vetting is political theater. During the withdrawal, vetting was openly short-circuited, man. The DOJ Inspector General literally states that the need to immediately evacuate Afghans overtook the normal processes required to check them. Then later, different factions argue on TV about whether he was vetted or not vetted or on entry or whatever, while ignoring the real question: why was the CIA-trained zero-unit operator even allowed into the interior of the United States in the first place? You do not bring a highly trained foreign gunman inside your perimeter unless you're absolutely certain of his long-term loyalty, or you're reckless enough to gamble with your own citizens' lives. Our enforcement priorities are upside down. We got politicians scoring points, screaming about workers cutting grass, while CIA alumni from paramilitary death squads are being rubber stamped through asylum. And I'll say it again. Now I'll make it crystal clear. I'm not saying ignore illegal immigrants. I'm saying you start with the people that's trained to kill and want to kill you. If you're running real security, you hit the highest threat nodes first. Train foreign fighters, organize criminal cartels, state-sponsored operatives from adversarial nations. Then you work your way down to the visa overstays and the day laborers. Instead, our ruling class wants political optics, not security. And normal Americans pay the price, like Sarah Beckstrom and Andrew Wolf, because they want to say, well, we've got 3,000 a day. Okay, 3,000 a day. We're getting out 3,000 a day or 5,000 a day. I would rather you get out 10 a day if this would have saved their lives. Sarah Beckstrom was 20 years old, man, newly sworn in. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf is described as an upbeat, reliable, deeply tied into his community back in West Virginia. And Sarah's father posted very, sad. He said, "My baby girl's passed to glory. If I don't talk to you, don't be offended. This has been a horrible tragedy." They volunteered to serve, man, got sent to DC as walking symbols of security and were ambushed by a man our own government trained, imported, and then forgot about. And in the middle of that, a major with no gun in a hand, but a knife in his hand, decided he wasn't going to watch his people die. He went hands-on against a gunman reloading a revolver. The kind of move you only make if you've fully accepted you might die on that sidewalk. That guy, that's Medal of Honor worthy behavior. He ran into gunfire with a pocket knife. And it hurts because these are the type of people I care about. Not the politicians spinning this shit, not the talking heads using this as dunk on the other team. I don't care about that. And I'm actually really tired of that. If you followed me through the years, dude, I've been pro this, I've been pro that, but I'm just really getting tired of the charade. I'm really getting tired of seeing Americans die. I'm tired of seeing Americans get used, right? So here's where I'm at. We took a CIA-trained zero-unit operator, flew him into the country under rush vetting, granted him asylum, let him stew with war trauma and God knows what else for years. And then acted surprised when he allegedly, or we say allegedly, we saw the video, right? Acted like the kind of man we built him to be, okay? You want to fix America's security problems, stop turning foreign war zones into training camps for future blowback. The same thing happened with Osama bin Laden. Stop prioritizing optics over risk and start being honest that both parties have bloody fingerprints on this mess. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments. Was this just pure terrorism, a broken soldier that just snapped? Or does it feel like somebody somewhere flipped a switch on a former asset? Drop your take below. I want to know. Say a prayer for Sarah Beckstrom's family and for Andrew Wolf's recovery. Sad that it had to be on Thanksgiving, man. Very sad, right? And remember, guys, you cannot outsource your safety to people who created this problem. Be hard to kill and be your own security detail, because nobody's coming to save you. And before I forget, because I sent out the email today, but Black Friday we didn't do a sale. We don't really do that many sales other than Veterans Day, but we did do 2 limited drops. And I want to share with my guys, because I like for you to be able to get your hands on it. But we brought out the Obsidian Black Tactical Team hoodie, which is, if you've got them, you know, drop in the comments. We did the Recon Gray, but this is Obsidian Black, flag on sleeve, but very good hoodie going to the range, gym, and so on, man. You know, slipping on the radar. The other great thing I'm excited about, because I love, again, working with other veterans, John McNeese Knives, former Marine, and I've known him since the inception of Black Scout Survival. He used to let me, he would send me knives and let me test them. I'd send them back. I didn't keep them, but I wanted to. But anyway, he's very respected in the knife community as well. And he came out with a new folder called the Dixon, which is a large, because he's known for smaller blades, but this is a actually large blade for him, and it's in Magna cut steel. This is a very limited product, limited to 5 units. We've already sold a few, but I'll show it here. It has the Frostman night vision. If you see that night vision on the handle, so Frostman 1 has NVGs, full titanium, Magna cut steel blade, and again, American made, veteran owned, small business. I love to support our people. You know, there's nothing more in this world that makes me happy to see other veterans succeed. And every time I can do collaborations with them, I want to. Now, this is a higher end knife, so I don't need to hear you whining about it. It just is. You know, his work is incredible. And again, Frostman 1 limited edition knife. Get it to match your Frostman hoodie that you might have got, or your keychain. But man, I really want to keep one for myself. So pick them up before I want to keeping this one for myself. But we have a few left. Anyway, guys, I do appreciate you hanging out with me. And always remember to stay frosty, stay strapped, and always stay dangerous. Black Scout.